Today we are going to be looking at a passage in the book of Nehemiah, and it's Nehemiah chapter 2, verses 1 through 9. It's this really cool story of this guy that puts his trust in God in a big way and asks a big ask. So let's get started. If you have your Bibles, follow along with me. Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 1. And in the month of Nisan, not the car, Nisan, it's a month. In the month of Nisan, in the 20th year of King Artaxerxes, when wine was brought for him, he took the wine and gave it to the king. I had not been sad in his presence before. So the king asked me, "Why does your face look so sad when you are not ill?" "This can be nothing but sadness of heart." And I was very much afraid. But I said to the king, "May the king live forever. Why should my face not look sad when the city of my ancestors, where my ancestors are buried, lies in ruins and its gates have been destroyed by fire?" And the king said to me, "What is it that you want?" Then I prayed to the God of heaven, and I answered the king, "If it pleases the king, and if your servant has found favor in his sight, let him send me to the city in Judah where my ancestors are buried, so that I can rebuild it." Then the king, with the queen sitting beside him, asked, "How long will your journey take, and when will you get back?" And it pleased the king to send me, so I set a time. I also said to him, "If it pleases the king, may I have a letter to the governors of Trans-Euphrates, so that they will provide me safe conduct until I arrive in Judah. And may I have a letter to Asaph, keeper of the royal park, so he will give me timber to make the beams for the gates and the citadel by the temple, for the city wall, and for the residence I will occupy." And because of the gracious hand of my God was on me, the king granted my request. So I went to the governors of Trans-Euphrates and gave them the king's letter. And the king also sent army officers and cavalry with me. It's such an interesting story of this guy asking a very powerful king something that could have really gotten him into a lot of trouble. And he was afraid to do it, but he trusted in God. Now there's this story of this guy. He's actually telling a story of his own dad. And his dad was this man of very few words. He had been in a war, and so his hearing had been damaged during that time of being a soldier. And one afternoon when this guy is sitting and talking with his mom, the dad actually turns to them and playfully, he says, "Whenever I want peace and quiet, all I have to do is this." And he switched off both hearing aids. He leans back, folds his hands behind his head, closes his eyes with a peaceful smile. Just like that. And what his dad did that day reminded me of how different God is than that. And how different God is from us. Because God always wants to hear his children. Always. And this is shown in one of the shortest prayers in the Bible. And it's in that passage we just read. And Nehemiah, the servant to King Artaxerxes, I think I said that, I don't know, I might have said that wrong, of Persia, was feeling down. And when he went to see the king, he was scared. And when the king asked him why he was upset, he admitted that it was because Jerusalem, his family's city, lay in ruin. And when the king asked him, "What do you want to do about it?" he prayed to God and answered. So I'm assuming at this point that Nehemiah didn't just drop to his knees and say a prayer right there, go, "Hang on, I'm going to go talk to God and I'll be right back to finish answering." No, he did a really quick prayer to God and he answered the king. And Nehemiah's prayer only lasted for a moment, but God heard it. And it allowed him to be given what he was asking for. So isn't it comforting to know that God cares enough to listen to all of our prayers, from the shortest to the very longest? God is listening for even the simplest prayer. And for those of you who have heard me speak before or have been around when I've talked about prayer, sometimes we have this tendency to think that prayer is something we have to do. We have to get on our knees, and it has to be a certain time of day, or it has to be in your room, or there has to be these certain things in place, and your eyes have to be closed, and your hands may have to be folded, and there's a whole array of things that people feel they need to do to pray. And I want to tell you that prayer is simply a conversation between you and God. So what does a conversation between you and a friend look like? Because that's going to look very, very similar to what a conversation or a prayer that I have with God is going to look like. And sometimes the most important prayers we can pray are those really short ones that we need right in the moment. So I want to ask this, and I want to challenge you with these couple questions. When do you talk with God? When do you take time out of your day to talk to God? And then what stops you from saying those quick, in-the-moments prayer throughout your day? What is that thing that gets in the way of us just going, hey, you know what, God, I need your ear for a minute. I just have this question, or I need this, or whatever that is. God, help me. What is that thing that so often stops us? It's usually us. But I would encourage you guys to always remember that God is there for us no matter what. And he wants to hear from his children. So don't ever be afraid or intimidated or feel like you're in a place you can't talk to God. Because God will meet you no matter where you're at. And he will love you just the same. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. It's been fun. I miss you guys. Love everybody. Can't wait to see you. And we'll see you on the next one. Have a great day. Bye.